If you may have noticed the gouge on my face, it was either A, I got shot in the face by an agitated brown man, or B, I got hit by a brick thrown by a monkey. If you said B, you are correct. Alright, so Daybreakers, Ethan Hawke, Willem Dafoe, other people, vampires. Now I know the questions that you're going to be asking me. The questions are, is this the return of the badass vampires? Kinda? Or is this just another movie? Sorta? This film had a lot of potential. A lot of potential to be good. It had a lot of good ideas. Vampires taking over? Cool. Ethan Hawke as an undead vampire? Awesome. Willem Dafoe as Chewbacca? Even better. But this thing is just based on ideas. This thing was just, the movie was mainly ideas. It wasn't, they were executed alright, but they weren't brilliantly executed. But what happens is the film gets bogged down by all these good ideas and can't seem to move forward. The basic plot of the film is Ethan Hawke is a scientist, a vampire scientist. The entire world's been run over by the vampires. There's very little humans left. And he is the guy in charge of coming up with a blood substitute. A substitute for human blood that won't turn people into crazy, fucked up vampire things. Because it seems to happen a lot. And because the human supply is running really short. Now, Ethan Hawke doesn't really want to be a vampire, so when he finds out there's a cure to the vampirism, bat thing. So when they find out there's a cure for bat thing, he jumps all over it and goes on this huge quest, and then people are trying to find him, bring him back, kill everyone else, and just blah blah blah, all that good crap. But where the story really kind of screws up is it suffers from the, hey, look, you're watching a movie syndrome, which is when every little thing, it tells you everything you need to know at the time when you need to know it. There's no real surprises, there's no real, big reveals of anything. You pretty much can guess everything that happens in this movie about 10 minutes before it happens. Every plot point, every action spot in the film, every big battle scene, you kind of you know it's coming, and when you see it, you're like, I called it, alright, and then you move on. What I did like about this movie is it was a movie about vampires and it was a movie about finding a cure and stuff. It wasn't a movie about, the main character was Ethan Hawke, but it wasn't a movie about Ethan Hawke, falling in love with a human or falling in love with a vampire or whatever. That stuff didn't happen in this movie. I mean, there is a little love, but they don't throw it in your face. They're not trying to say, hey, this is a movie and the main character falls in love. I did like that aspect because that happens too often in movies. Is that the main character, no matter what, has always a love interest or something, and you just kind of keep shoving it in your face throughout the whole film. That doesn't really happen with this film. Other than that, I'd have to say that the movie was just, it was too predictable. The visual style was okay, but blues and darkness have already been tried. Have already been done when it comes to vampire films. I mean, Underworld. Is this movie the next Underworld? Not really. Underworld had more action. And this one was just, it was a little bit too much talking. I didn't think this was going to be a huge action film, but I just wish that the action wasn't so far spread apart or so predictable. There was just nothing new that they brought to this film that other films haven't done. As far as a rating, I would have to say it's a definite, it's a steal. It's a steal. Like, it had good ideas, but the good ideas were really the only thing holding this movie up. It didn't have that much of a story behind it, and the characters weren't that greatly developed. And then when characters died, you're supposed to care, but you really don't. So it's a steal. If you want to, rent it, but I would say mainly a steal. So go find this movie like I did, and I guess I'll catch you next time. My question to you guys is, who's the most badass vampire you've ever seen in a movie? And that doesn't include Twilight. The Twilight series does not have badass vampires in it. So what movie has the best vampires? The most badass vampires? I'm talking about the Underworld vampires, the Interview with vampires, the Keith Sutherland and Lost Boys vampires. Which one is your favorite? You let me know. Because Ethan Hawke, kind of a badass. A little. He's a little. It's not right, but I just can't give it up. I'll try.